Hey guys, real quick, only 40% of our viewers are actually subscribed, so let's change that right now. Hit that subscribe button right below. Kansas City Chiefs at the Denver Broncos. This gets the 425 window on Sunday. Chiefs are favored by 3.5 here on the road. Over-under is 44.5. Chiefs are coming off a bye. Broncos coming off a mini bye. After their 10-7 win against the Raiders on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah. This obviously the most interesting thing in this game is the best pass rush in the NFL in the Denver Broncos going up against Kansas City. The Chiefs offense as a whole, but specifically how that offensive line holds up, how Patrick Mahomes negates that rush with everything that he does. That's the thing to watch.
So much on the line here when we talk about the stakes of the Seattle Rams game, the stakes of this game. 8-2 Broncos. They have not had a bye yet, so they've played 10 games. The Chiefs, as I said, coming off their bye, they're 5-4. A win from Denver here puts them, 3.5 games up on the Chiefs. 3.5 on the Kansas City Chiefs, who have won this division for, 9 straight years, whatever it is. So it's a huge game in Denver. We did not get to see Mahomes play in Denver last year because it was the Week 18 game where the Chiefs had already clinched. They played all their backups. Denver needed to win, and they played against their backups. Bo Nix had 4 touchdowns, no picks. And every time I see Bo Nix counting stats, I think about that game in my head as like a freebie. But so we didn't get to see Mahomes and the Chiefs play in Denver last year. So that's going to be a fun matchup. And then overall, like you said, the pass rush of Denver, Nick Bonito, all of the quick pressures, the league leader in quick pressures, and Zach Allen, Jonathan Cooper, that entire pass rush creating havoc up front. When these teams did play in Kansas City last year, it was, I thought, for all the negativity surrounding Bo Nix after his last game, I was very impressed with how Bo Nix last year led what should have been a game-winning drive against Spags' defense in the fourth quarter. And then they had a field goal blocked. Like, they were in position to win the game, and Kansas City blocked a field goal. That was one of those, hey, how is Kansas City winning all of these close games last year? They blocked a field goal. The Raiders dropped a snap. They had a 4th and 25 pass interference. Like, they had all these things go their way to win these one-score games.
Yeah.
Now, this year, they're not going their way for Kansas City. Does that even out? I think we're going to learn a lot in this game. It's going to be close. I think it's going to be a close game.
It should be. I think Denver's defense has shown it's so good. The pass rush is insane. The Chiefs' offensive line is solid, but it's not amazing. Like, you can't imagine a world where they completely lock down and negate this pass rush entirely. You've got that Chiefs' offensive skill position group, which is pretty formidable at this point. They don't run the ball tremendously well against that defensive front. I wouldn't imagine is a huge threat. So it's going to be Mahomes and that receiving group against Denver's back end. And then the other side of the ball, you've got this inconsistency that is Bo Nix and the Denver offense. Like, they have weapons. They've got players that can make an impact. And Bo Nix has stretches where he's able to do amazing work and, create all kinds of chaos. It just doesn't happen all the time.
The weekly Bo Nix discourse, he's great, he's not great. It's like he's probably just somewhere in the middle. That's okay. He's coming off of a rough game the other day, last week against the Raiders. I know it was windy. It was, the offense had their challenges. The offense has had their challenges several times in several games in the first 3 quarters. I don't think they could play that game if you're Denver. I don't think you could play this. Let's just, win it in the fourth quarter. They almost have as many points in the fourth quarter as they have in the first 3 quarters combined.
It's crazy.
It's a wild number. It's not exactly 1-to-1, but it's, close enough that it's significant to say, like, why can't you find this rhythm in the first 3 quarters, and what happens in the fourth quarter to, either play freer or you dial up the best plays or whatever it might be. They've done a great job making comebacks against the Eagles, against the Giants. We've seen a lot of that, fourth quarter magic. I think for Denver to win, they have to do what Buffalo did a couple weeks ago. The last time we saw the Chiefs, they got Buffalo's best. They had Buffalo. Buffalo did a really nice job mixing up the run and pass, keeping Kansas City off balance, using their tight ends, exploiting their linebackers, as you were saying. I think that's where Sean Payton comes in here as a play caller. I think he's still a very good play caller. And, remember last year he kind of got I think he got more creative down the stretch. Marvin Mims as a wide receiver was moving around, using him in the backfield. They were creating those mismatches. I think that's going to be a key in this game. If they can exploit the Chiefs linebackers in coverage, they're just going to have to play a cleaner game overall. Might see a little bit more RJ Harvey running the ball. And so trying to figure out that balance and putting Bo Nix in position to succeed. And Bo's just got to hit some of the open throws.
Yeah.
He's had open throws. I mean, why is the discourse all over the place? He's had good throws and good scrambles, and he's had a lot of touchdowns in his year and a half as a starter, and he misses a lot of open ones. And a lot of times it's like, man, you can see uneasiness in the pocket with his footwork, and he's got to clean that up. So if there are open throws, he's got to hit them. And the challenge with Spags defense is there's usually not a ton of open throws down the field, so they got to get creative to find those mismatches.
That's the thing. There have been open throws in basically every game. And look, it's not always Bo Nix. Like sometimes Troy Franklin will drop one, right? Like it's collectively they're just not making all the plays that are there, but they are there basically every game. Like it's too talented a team. They will have open throws. Bo Nix has got the arm to make it wherever he needs to get it. Cortland Sutton is regularly open. Troy Franklin is almost always open deep. Marvin Mims, like they've got the playmakers. And most of the time, it's, I think, Bo Nix missing those throws. But occasionally it's, Troy dropping one. But like that stat that we brought out before, the Bo Nix to Troy Franklin connection deep. For two guys who, remember, were college teammates. It's not like these are guys that have never met before and there's no chemistry and it's just not working. These are guys that were college teammates and extremely dynamic and potent as a combination at Oregon, have connected like twice in a year and a half on deep throws. And they're there every game. It's like at some point that needs to connect.
I've seen a lot of people calling for Cortland Sutton to get more targets. And even as two of the bigger Troy Franklin supporters here, with so many targets going his way over the last, 3 or 4 games, I do agree, like, getting Cortland Sutton involved a bit more, and especially in this game. I always say Spags defense, because they play so much man coverage, because they pair that with the blitz scheme and everything, you don't have time to get open, or it's just tough to create separation against their corners. So you're going to have to win in contested situations. Like, it does feel like a game where you got to give Cortland Sutton some opportunities to make some special plays. And maybe feeding Troy Franklin 8 to 10 targets isn't actually the best deployment of Franklin. Let him run the deep stuff, let him run the vertical routes, but I think Sutton's got to make some plays if you're the Broncos in this one.
Yeah, he does. I mean, again, that offense just needs to be a more efficient group than it's been so far. Like that stat of it's been a fourth quarter team, I don't think that's a repeatable skill. Like I don't think you can just muddle your way through 3 quarters and then turn it on in the fourth. I think that's noise. I think that's just a freaky collection of games that they've run this year. And if it's not real, if it's not a thing that is repeatable week on week on week, which is more likely to happen, their fourth quarter heroics stop happening or they get it together for the first 3 quarters of a game. It feels like it's more likely that the fourth quarter magic disappears than it is that they just click the rest of the game. So that's the concern for Denver. This defense you have no fear of at all. It's dominant. It's fantastic. It's the best pass rush in the NFL. But I think like this is a team that's top of the division, trying to establish itself as a true contender. And I think there's a risk that the offense actually goes the other way than it gets itself together and sort of shows that it's ready to be a contender.
I want to talk Chiefs offense against Broncos defense, but while we're talking about the Broncos offense, the Bills, I mean, this happens when you have the team in dynasty territory. The Patriots of 20 years would always get the opposing team's best for the most part, and you could easily make that argument like teams bring their best against the Chiefs. The Bills just showed it, right? They played this near-perfect game 2 weeks ago and then lay an egg against Miami the following week. There's that aspect too. I mean, Denver, if you look high level at the fact that the AFC West has invested in Sean Payton as a head coach. They traded for Sean Payton, the investment to bring him in, to bring in a Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers, to try to bring Pete Carroll in, even though it hasn't worked for the Raiders. That whole division's making these aggressive moves to try to knock off the Chiefs. And so, like I used to say about the Kirk Cousins, like this is the game you pay Kirk Cousins all that money for. Like this is the game This is why he brought in Sean Payton. And if the Broncos treat this like their Super Bowl, and you could argue it's not, but it's close to it. Like the implications of this aren't just you can win the division. You have a chance to legitimately put the Chiefs' playoff hopes on the ropes, right? If they're 5-5, they really can't slip up more than once for the rest of the year, and you play them again, right? So that's how significant this is. Not only can you put yourself ahead in the division, like huge distance between yourself and the Chiefs for the division, you have a chance. I'm not saying the Chiefs aren't going to make the playoffs if they lose this game, but their playoff hopes dwindle big time with the loss here. The difference between them being 6-4 and 5-5. So say all that to say, does Sean Payton dial up the good stuff?
Yeah.
Right? Is this an extra couple trick plays? You can't do surprise onside kicks like you did in the Super Bowl anymore, but is this the game? You've got fake punts. Like, is this the type of game you literally pull it all out, especially the way the offense is playing, and say, look, if we just hit on a couple of these trick plays, then we're going to, that's what we're going to go for it. And Sean Payton's aggressive by nature in everything that he does. Play calling, team building, he's very aggressive. So I just think that's another interesting dynamic and storyline in this, is how Sean Payton and the offense treat this game, given some of their offensive woes and what's at stake. It is as big of a regular season game as the Broncos have played, since their Super Bowl season.
Yeah, and look, I think this Denver team really wants it to be, if they're going to make the playoffs, they really want to be playing home playoff games. I mean,
Yes.
Mile High is an advantage. Mile High is where they want to be playing. They don't want to have to go on the road. It's less to me, the implications of victory and more the implications of defeat if they don't win. It's like, if you don't win this game, Kansas City closes to within 2, plus they play you again, and all of a sudden you're like, you might not be in control of the division. The Chargers could win. Everything starts to get a little bit sketchier for a team that probably doesn't have like 100% total confidence in what they are yet. So I think that it's more like the threat of, if you lose to Kansas City, they sort of shown they're still the big guys, even if their game's back, and you're not in control. Whereas if you go and establish, no, we're the team, we're going to win this division, we're going to host home playoff games, and oh, by the way, you guys have got work to do to even make it to the playoffs. Yeah, it's a huge game.
I want to talk other side of the ball here. So Josh Simmons, Chiefs offense. Josh Simmons was back at practice after over a month being away for personal reasons. Mm-hmm. It's still not positive if he's going to play or not. Nobody actually knows why he was away,
right?
What he was doing. Was he staying in football shape?
Nobody on the outside, anyway.
No one on the outside, right? The Chiefs obviously know. But I don't know if they are revealing whether or not he's going to play. If Jalen Moore is at left tackle, that's a mismatch in favor of Benito and the Broncos. If Josh Simmons is there, it's still probably a mismatch. He's still a rookie and hasn't played in a while, but it could be an upgrade. The thing I would keep an eye on here, and what the Chiefs do extremely well, and I know Mahomes faced a lot of pressure against the Bills, but if you watch that game, there's a few plays where the Bills win up front, but a lot of it was either Mahomes not pulling the trigger on a first read, or first read's not there and he's scrambling, and it's like later pressure. Denver does that well. We talk about the mesh of coverage and pass rush. But the Chiefs also historically do a really good job, even though there are those games like the Super Bowl, they got wrecked up front. They do a really good job of keeping rushers off balance. And if Andy Reid gets that rhythm early, screen here, screen there, the rollout game, we know when they get into 3rd and 4th and short, they'll roll Mahomes out quite a bit. I would say Mahomes scrambling in this game is going to be pretty key. If that first read isn't there, he might just be looking for an escape route, and might be one of those games where he scrambles 8 times for 60 yards, and that ends up becoming a huge difference in the game. And then I would keep an eye on what they did on 4th and 17. If they had pulled off the win, I think this play would get a lot more credit. An incredible play call 2 weeks ago against the Bills. They did. I was talking to a quarterback the other day. He called it the run and shoot drop back. Remember the old run and shoot drop backs where the quarterbacks, like the righties, would drop back like they were a lefty? Do you remember seeing those? Like Warren Moon?
No.
During Houston. Instead of dropping back facing to the right, they would drop back like backwards and then spin around to throw. That was how he dropped back.
The old Mike Martz thing, they used to drop back vertically.
They went straight back. Like Cutler would do some of that.
Yeah.
But this was like Mahomes would turn, like he was dropping back like he was left-handed, and then spun back to the right. And on that play, they basically faked the sprint out left, faked the sprint out right, and then he just sat in the pocket. I say all that to say they have creative ways to keep pass rushers off balance and help protect their blockers. And they pulled that out on 4th and long a couple weeks ago. I would just keep an eye on the creativity on 3rd and long. If they get into 3rd and long, where Mahomes has been so special throughout most of his career, what do they dial up? How do they do that? How do they mitigate the pass rush, the 5-man pressures that Denver can throw at them through different ways of moving the pocket, fake move in the pocket? They've been creative, and we talk a lot about Kansas City saving the good stuff for the playoffs, and there's elements of that are true. They're running out of time, right? The as big as this game is for Denver, it is going both ways, right? They can't afford to fall to 5-5. So I think Kansas City, coming off their bye, breaks out some of the good stuff to try to mitigate the pass rush, and I think that's going to be a huge key on 3rd down.
Yeah. Another game, it's always fun to focus on Riley Moss, who remains he's one of the most aggressively targeted corners in the NFL, whether or not Patrick Surtain is in the lineup, and yet performs really well when attacked. Like, he's allowing a low completion rate. He's allowing pretty good numbers overall. Riley Moss is a good player, and for some reason, the NFL just relentlessly fires the ball in his direction.
I'm a little sad there's no Patrick Surtain.
Yeah.
I mean, that would look, Denver's defenses look great even without him the last game and a half, but that would be pretty significant if you had Surtain and his ability to, say, take out a Xavier Worthy or try to match a Rashee Rice. So that is something to keep an eye on as well. The last couple numbers I just want to throw out there before we make picks. Kansas City against 5+ rushers. Remember, there was years like, don't blitz Mahomes, don't send the extra rushers. He's always got answers. Well, this year, they're 23rd in yards per pass, 18th in success rate, and 25th in pressure allowed. It hasn't been as clean. And Denver's one of those teams that can win with the 4-man rush, but when they bring 5, like it is, they're bringing havoc when they bring 5. Like they pick their spots, and that might be a key to this game. They're number 1 when they send 5+. Denver's defense, 4.3 yards per pass. Thank you, 33rd team. And I mentioned earlier, Nick Bonito's quick pressures, 17 pressures in under 2.5 seconds. That's number 1 in the NFL. So their pass rush going up against Kansas City's defense is going to be a big part of this.
Yeah. I wonder if, not just getting pressure, but can they actually finish those plays and get Mahomes to the ground? That's a big part of always when you're facing Patrick Mahomes. He's so good at escaping and getting out of those plays. And, I think Nick Bonito, I think they're going to get quick pressure because they typically do. But that's not enough for Mahomes. Like, some of the biggest plays he makes are on those plays where it breaks down, he escapes. Like, you've got to get him down.
What do you do as a pass rusher? Because he's difficult to tackle.
Yep.
And obviously elusive. And so are you trying to keep him in the pocket? This is where I say, like, teams do a really good job of. I thought the Bills did a really good job with their pass rush integrity. Well, Denver doesn't always do a good job with pass rush integrity. They just swarm and they collapse the pocket from all sides. If they let Mahomes break free, we could see some big plays. If they get him to the ground, of course, that's great. But if they try to get him to the ground too much, opens yourself up. So I think that balance of how you want to rush, I think, is going to be another big part for Denver. Mm-hmm. Fun game, man. 4:25. Nance and Romo on the call, I'm sure. Chiefs by 3.5. You surprised that they're favored here by that much on the road?
Yeah, a little bit. I guess, Vegas, the man in Vegas, still has faith in the Chiefs. I get it in terms of I have very little confidence in Denver's offense just getting itself together for any period of time. And the most recent game we saw from them was pretty ugly. But that defense, I think, will do real damage.
All right, let's make a pick here. I'm back and forth on this one. Where are you going to go?
Going with Denver to cover and at least keep it closer than that and maybe even, win at home.
Yeah, it's the 3.5 that's getting me. So I'll take Denver because of that. Harry's going to take Kansas City. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if Mahomes plays one of his best games of the year. It's not season on the line, but again, there's a lot on the line in this game for a mid-season matchup. It's going to be fun. I'll take Denver, though, just because it does feel like a big line for a really good Denver team and the way their defense is playing. And they beat Kansas City a couple of years ago with Russell Wilson. Like they've played well. They've matched up well against the Chiefs as well, which I think is a factor. The matchup has been close. Broncos Chiefs when they've played. Harry's going to take Kansas City in this one.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video.
Check the Mic is live Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, so be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a video.
You heard the man. Subscribe.